Before I get into this story, let me give a shout out to Willis HL for tagging me in this story. And let me just preface this right quick by saying I had to read the title of the first part of this article a couple of times to try to make sense of what I was about to get myself into. Now, it's crazy because I just saw, Doctor Strange 2, and the title is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I think the title of this is a madness in a multiverse in and of itself. So the title reads, and this is just the part of the title: transgender mom jailed for forcing child she fathered to do child porn. That's what the title reads. So one of the people in this picture, I'm not sure exactly which one was, and you gotta bear with me, y'all, was born a man, a biological man, who now transitioned, not completely, clearly, into that of being a woman while still having their equipment down there. They got someone else, a biological woman, pregnant, gave birth, and then forced the child that they had, to do child pornography. I think I have it right. I keep telling you, Hall T is so confusing. And I don't want, it's hard to try to make sense of whatever it is that they're doing. It just really is. Now, I don't know who is who in this image, but we're going to work through it, and we're going to push through and get through this article, because that title alone was just nerve-wracking. A transgender mother who was biologically born a man, keep in mind, who forced the 7-year-old daughter they fathered to engage in child pornography at their New Jersey home has been jailed for 25 years without parole, along with 3 accomplices. Marina Voles, previously named Matthew, was sentenced on Friday at Somerset County Superior Court alongside with another transgender woman, Ashley Romero, age 28, previously named Adam, and 2 other offenders, Sean Allen, age 54, and Dulcinea Janeco, age 21. Now, I think these 2 right here are the 2 biologically born men transitioned to being trans. I believe. I think. I told you, y'all got to bear with me. Voles, age 32, ran a family-owned transgender pornography production studio specializing in amateur, BDSM, and tattoo fetish content from her Colburn Lane home in Franklin Township, according to acting prosecutor Anne Marie Taggart, where she allowed her accomplices to sexually abuse her young daughter. The involvement of all 4 defendants was made clear in a string of group messages in which they discussed their plans to abuse Voles' child. Somerset County Assistant Prosecutor Brian Stack told Judge Peter Tober at sentencing on Friday the quartet orchestrated a vortex of darkness that snuffed out the young girl, adding the group were incapable of redemption and had not accepted full responsibility. Judge Tober, meanwhile, said the crime was heinous, cruel, and depraved, and commented the child endured abuse involving a basement cage, neck collars, and a variety of sex toys. The judge sentenced Voles and Romero to 25 years without parole, while Allen received a 12-year sentence eligible for parole after 10 years, and Janeco was handed a 5-year sentence. Voles, Romero, and Allen will all be subject to lifetime parole supervision upon release. So, okay. This is the Marina Voles right here, because I'm scrolling down in the article, and this is the picture right here. So this is the person who pretty much orchestrated. This is the one biologically born a man who impregnated somebody else, had a child, and basically allowed these monsters to go and run crazy with their child. This next person right here, this Ashley Romero, the person who was formerly, what was the name? Formerly, I have to scroll back up a little bit into this article. Adam. So this is a person who also too was biologically born as a man who's now quote unquote transitioning into that of a quote unquote woman. And the other 2 pretty much are self-explanatory. These 2 are actually their biological sexes. This is an actual man and this is an actual woman. An investigation by the Somerset County Prosecutor's Office Sex Crime and Child Abuse Unit found Voles managed to win custody of the child in 2018 before taking her away from her mother's home in the West Coast and bringing her back to New Jersey. So this is a person who apparently engaged in sexual, acts with someone else who was a biological woman and had a child, and then brought them back from the West Coast to New Jersey, and it was all downhill from there. Investigators who raided the property one night after they assumed custody of the child following an anonymous tip-off in January 2019 discovered more than 30 computers, cameras, and digital storage devices containing extensive evidence of child pornography and sexual abuse. They also discovered firearms, a high-capacity magazine, and cocaine at the residence. She will never see her child again, or actually they will never see their child again. I can't wrap my head around what happened in this case, he said, adding the evidence was some of the worst images I had ever seen in my life, according to My Central Jersey. Cowell explained Voles has no criminal record, had served in the U.S. Army, and was not deemed to be a violent sexual predator prior to the case. The judge, meanwhile, said it will be years before the full extent of the psychological harm endured by Voles' daughter is known, declaring the girl had suffered grievously at the hands of her captors. He also stated the transgender woman had themselves suffer sexual abuse in their youth and had attempted to commit suicide on numerous occasions. All four defendants pled guilty in November 2021 to a range of charges including human trafficking, aggravated sexual assault, creation of child pornography, and possession of child pornography, as well as charges related to possession of firearms and high-capacity magazines. Romero's lawyer insisted his client had her head on the right way for redemption. There is hope for them, despite the fact that he's extensively abused the child while being filmed. Then that person doesn't have their head on correct then. If that's the case. Allen, a U.S. Navy veteran, said he was complicit in orchestrating the cross-country transport of a minor for the purposes of sexual gratification and has also engaged in the sexual abuse. Janeko, meanwhile, received a lesser sentence as the judge established she had not participated in the abuse of a child. The 21-year-old acted as the child's carer and was tasked mostly with cooking and cleaning in Voles' New Jersey home, according to her lawyer Jack Venturi. She ultimately pled guilty to counts of endangering the welfare of a child. Acting Prosecutor Taggart said the case served as an example of the importance of reporting suspicions of child abuse, arguing that without the anonymous tip-off from a concerned member of the community, Voles and her accomplices may never have been brought to justice. This is a wild story right here. This is a really, really wild story that I just read. And I said it took me a little bit to register that title and which I read. But I wonder what the members of Hall T have to say about this, because there has been quite a few stories coming out about Hall T lately that has literally rubbed me the wrong way. This one right here probably takes the cake though. Like, they were running a transgender porn studio. I've never heard of something like that. I don't know if y'all have, but I've never heard of something like that. I've heard of other types of studios that, like porn studios that they'll have, but I've never heard of one like this before. So let's break it down. This is a biologically born man who lives as a man. This is a biologically born female that lives as a female. These two right here are both biologically born men living as women. This one right here was the one that had the child. They got a woman pregnant out on the West Coast and got custody and brought the child back, and then, like I said, it was it all shot to hell from there. That is some wild shit when you really break it down. That child will never be the same. No matter how many hours of therapy that child goes through, they will never truly recover from the psychological, mental, and physical damage that all four of these contributed, because in my eyes, none of them are innocent. Not even this one. This is the one that got the lesser sentence. They said while this one did not engage in the actual sexual act of like molesting this child, they still was an accomplice because they knew what was going on. They were complicit. They did not say anything. They just allowed it to go on. All they did was they cooked and cleaned. In other words, they were basically the maid. They were the help. But all three, these 1, 2, 3, all engage in that. And this one right here makes it worse because this person right here, that's their child. That's the child they helped conceive and bring into the world. And they allowed that to happen, and they molested their own child. Like, let's really put all our cards on the table. Let's put to the side that this person right here is quote unquote trans. This person is a child predator on their own child, which makes it 10 times worse. I mean, it's bad enough you do that on any child, but to do that to your own child is even worse. And the courts gave this person custody. Like, let's really think about that for a second. The courts gave this person custody. And look at what happened. It makes you wonder if that was their plan all along, to have a child just so they could have their way with the child. Because I believe they said the child is now 7. It's some weird shit going on. I need to know from my New Jersey followers, my New Jersey subscribers, were you aware of this story before I spoke on it? Or did you already know? And also, if you did know, what are they talking about now? Like, is it still being talked about now? Is it being highlighted still? Or is it faded into obscurity? Like, is it faded out to the news? Because this needs to stay in the news, especially when it comes to the academy, because a lot of them like to skate on by with a lot of their shit. But they don't want to talk about this stuff. And it's crazy because, you know, there was always a stigma with the academy that is a lot of molesters there. And they tried to shield themselves and say that it isn't. Well, what do you call this? Now, this isn't a blanket onto all of them, but yeah, you have 2 hall team members right here who are responsible for the rape, violation, and molestation of a child. And this is their child. This one right here, this crazy whacked out piece of shit right here. Or I wonder if they thought that transition was going to help protect them. I don't know. But yeah, this whole story is sick. And that's my take on it.